Hello, Renee here. It's Saturday, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to do today. Hannah and I are going to do another video on the piece of cake stamp set, and I'm just going to show you what we have and what you can look forward to. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to bring this down just like this. I don't want that like that. So there we go. I think you can see everything. Okay, so what we have here is the piece of cake we're going to use, and we do use also the Happy Birthday to You set. We just use the crumbs on the cake, all right, on the cake plate. So you will see that. We use the 1-inch punch, which is going away, and so you might want to get that. We use also the cake punch, which is going away. The Happy Birthday to You is already gone, and of course the piece of cake is going. So it's still available, but it is going. The other things that we're going to use are the delicate lace dies, which is what we built this with, and that is going. So those are beautiful dies. I've already used them quite often, so they're a great border. Also what is going is the Heirloom Frames embossing folders, and definitely going to be using that. This is the folder that I'm going to be using. And you will see here, of course, this is much smaller, but I cut it and then glued it together, so you can have different sizes. It does work, all right? When you do this and use this, you do have to use the Heirloom frame dies as well. This is the one that you use for the rectangle, all right? So we did use that to make this. We use the dies and we use the cake set. So now let's look at the DSP. We are using the Woven Heirlooms DSP again. And we are using the 40 sheet count of the 2019-2021 in color designer series paper. They're basically 4 patterns, 40 sheets. It's fantastic. Here's the one, this side, this side. Then you have the other one, which is going to be this side, which is great. This is the card that we're going to be building, and you have seen this before in my previous videos. This is how we close it. It goes very nicely in an envelope. The dimensions that we are using for this is that you actually cut the 8.5 side and 4 1/4 wide and 11 long. And so on that 11 side, you are going to actually score it at 1/2, at 2, at 4, and at 5 1/2. And that's how it works. And so that's how it will fold for you and come down. Again, with this, the way this works is going to be very easy. Fold up, fold up, fold up, fold up. And when you glue, you're going to glue it on the outside here. You're going to bring this down like this, and then you're just going to close it and hold it, and then it will do the pop. All right? The other thing that I'm going to do a little differently is I'm having a groom's cake. This card can be used for graduation, wedding, whatever you like. I'm going to make a little 3D groom's cake. My colors are basically crumb cake, mocha, and raspberry, which is going to be the Rococo Rose. So it's a mocha raspberry cake, and you will see that theme throughout on this cake. I did use a different cake. I've already stamped everything. In my previous video, you can see how we stamp, how I use the Stamparatus. You can stamp and punch, or you can simply punch and then use the Stamparatus to go ahead and stamp what you like. I prefer just to punch and then stamp. I actually get a better quality product if I do it that way. The knife, we are going to have a little knife. The knife is very easy to draw. Basically, you use one side and you draw a straight line, okay? Then what you do is you come out from that point and then go down like a triangle and then down and around. And you can make it as big or small as you like. And then you simply cut that out. Because this line is straight, draw that first, then come down and around, and then you can cut out your knife. If you look here, my knife on this grid paper is about 2.5 squares, a little bit more than 2.5. The dimensions on this would be about 3/4 of an inch is what I've got, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. And you saw here how I drew it. And then I just went further. I wanted it longer. And of course, that's going to be not seen. And so there you go with your knife. Very easy. So I wanted to show you how to cut that knife out if you don't know how. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else that I missed? We got the knife. We got the cake. Here is the plate with the crumbs. This is going to be the 1-inch circle that I'm going to cut in half that you see here, down here, so that I can place my cake on that. That's how that's going to work, and that'll work just fine. I'll show you how you glue that bottom. It's not a big deal. That'll be it. I think so. This set uses all of the piece of cake as far as stamping goes, except for the crumbs, but you could literally take any kind of marker and just put in your dots. Know that Hannah and I will be presenting together, and that right after this you will see our video on how we make this second card. So you're going to have two kinds of cards. Sorry, my birds. Two kinds of cards, and mine is going to be the simpler version, and then hers is going to be that step up that we so often talk about in Stampin' Up. So I thought that would be kind of a good combination. All right, see you soon. Hello, Renee here, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and we have another card for you, Hannah and I, with the piece of cake, right? And yep. So we are going to go ahead and do a different kind of model that I found on Pinterest. And it's not exactly the same. And it's a little different. You've seen certain things that are similar, but this is a little bit of an alteration. It's a little simpler than the one on Pinterest. And here's Hannah.
Yes, so I'm Hannah with Hannah Crafted Gifts. You may have seen our last video using the piece of cake stamp set. We made the picnic table card. And so that was like our casual outdoor version, if you will, using that stamp set. And so that's one way of doing the fold. And today we're showing a different way of doing the fold. And I think it kind of turns out to be, at least for mine, like a dining room table card. So here it is closed. You can say it says, sorry, happy birthday, cut the cake. You're thinking, where's the cake? And if you fold it down like that other one folds, just vertical this time instead of horizontal, there's the cake. And there's the knife to cut it. It's all ready to go. People's plates waiting for it. So that's my version. I'll be making a very similar version of that today. And so you'll see some differences as we go through. So you'll have a few different options to try out. So I guess we'll get started with our cardstock, right, Renee? So I'll so
I think the nice thing about this card set is that we are going to be doing a simple version and then a step-up version. So, and Hannah's is the step-up version. How am I centered, Hannah?
That looks great. That looks great.
Good. All right.
So we've gone ahead and scored this. Renee, do you want to remind us what the dimensions are on that?
Yes, so you are going to take your sheet of paper, and mine is going to be Sahara sand, and you are going to cut the 8.5 side to 4.25. So it's going to be long. All right, that's the opposite way of cutting. And then you will be left with the 11-inch side. So you will score it at 5.5 right here. These scores are going to be 1/2, 2, 4, and then the 5.5.
That's right.
The way you're going to fold this is very easy because it's up, 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 and up. All right.
And mine is a little different because we'll see in a minute, Renee will be gluing hers together. Mine, I wanted to still be able to fully fold flat like a normal 4.25 by 5.5 card. So I've actually folded a mountain fold at my hinge, a mountain fold, but that last fold is instead of valley fold. So you can see it goes the opposite direction. So that way it's going to tuck under and be able to untuck and fold flat. So that's one difference.
Very good. Okay, so basically to close my card, now you're going to keep yours open?
I'm going to keep mine open. Yeah, mine
Okay.
is like this.
So to close the card, it's really easy. And I'm just going to glue that so that, oh, I can't do that yet because I have to put the other stuff in. So do you want me to go ahead, or how do we want to do this?
You can go ahead with whatever your next step would be. And
Okay.
I think we can do the same. My next step would be adding the DSP. Is that what you were going to do or something else?
Yes. So what I did is I went ahead and so this piece ends up to be 4.25 by 5.5, right guys? So then all you do is you're going to cut an 1/8 or 1/4 on the white, whisper white, then another 1/8 or 1/4 less on each side for the woven threads DSP. Then again, I did another layer of the color designer series paper, and I did another 1/8 or 1/4. I have a tendency to go quarters versus 8ths. So it'd be 1/4 on the 4.25, it'd be 1/4 off of the 5.5, and just keep on going down. I hope that's self-explanatory. And I would glue that. All right. On the front of the card, I do the exact same thing here. I'm going to have that come here, and I'm going to glue it onto that middle flap. All right, so that you can see that. All right, so again, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4 on both sides. This is a 2x4. This is a 2x4. So the first piece is 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then 1/4 less and 1/4 less. All right, I think I've done that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these on. So this goes on the front. What's more important is not the bottom, it's how your top looks. Pay attention to the top part, then glue it. Don't worry about underneath because it's hidden anyway. All right, Hannah, I'm done.
Okay. So yeah, so that looks lovely with those framed pieces, Renee, and that's very traditional card making. So great to get those tips on spacing. I am doing mine a little differently again. So I am making mine a little bit more like a literal scene. So again, if you see my sample, I have my tablecloth and my wallpaper with my mirror. So it's supposed to be like a little scene right out of a dollhouse or something. So I've made my DSP, and I'm using retired DSP, so I will link to the current DSP, and you can choose the patterns you like. This is from, I think, the Tea Together, something like that, DSP, and I'm flipping it up this time. So this time I'm going to have the stripes as my tablecloth. So I've put that from the 1/2 inch score line all the way down the front of my card. And if you watched our last video, there's my cat sneaking behind me. If you watched our last video, you know when you're gluing on top of something that's going to be folded, you have to very quickly and very gently, once you glue that in place, go ahead and fold on those score lines again so that you're getting that fold in your DSP without tearing it. If you wait too long till it's dry, it's going to be very hard to bend that cardstock again. For this 1/2 inch strip, I've cut the wallpaper DSP, which this time is this little flourish. And so that is when I tuck this 1/2-inch piece up along the wall under my cake and under my mirror, it's gonna blend right in with the wallpaper. Now, honestly, this mirror, it takes up so much of the space, you wouldn't even need wallpaper. You could just have, I'm using a very vanilla base, and so you could just have the wall be very vanilla and then have that mirror cover most of it up. So this is really an extra step you don't need to do if you don't wanna worry about lining this 1/2-inch strip up with this piece on the back of the wall. So I'm gonna keep gluing that, and we'll go back to what you're doing, Renee.
Okay. So the important thing here is, as you saw, I glued this down. Make sure that your words are going the right way when you cut your paper. And this also, for this one, if you're using something that's up and down, always check. That's always a double check. And so I simply went ahead and glued this 2x4 piece down. It's actually 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, the white. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue down my delicate lace, which is also going. I'm going to glue that down on the shelf. So this would be, I'm going to take this apart so you can see how that looks. So this is the shelf. So you see here, that belongs here, and then your shelf. All right.
One thing
so I'm going to,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
and then I'm just going to cut it off at the end. All right. So I'm going to glue that down real quick, and I'm going to show you how that works and cut that piece off. All right. Go ahead, Hannah.
I was just going to say that if you're building your card the way I am, you have to keep in mind it's quite different from your typical card. A typical card cut like this would probably open, let me put it in your orientation, probably open this way or maybe this way. This one is actually opening in a way this way. So the fold is at the bottom, not the top. So when you're putting it together, you want to have your tablecloth coming up from the fold, your 1/2-inch wallpaper strip on the opening side, and then you're going to have your wallpaper from the opening side here. And so you're just going to line it up with that opening edge and put it down as far as it goes. And I'll have all my dimensions in my product description on my page for this video posting, so you can check out exactly how big this would be.
So when I'm gluing this down, my delicate lace, my tablecloth, I am going to glue it so that these edges will go right over the edge and glue down. I do intend for that to happen. So you'll see I will glue that down and that will stick. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure. So I did glue that, make sure that sticks down there. And then I'm going to cut this right off. I glued that extra piece, which I didn't have to. That's why my paper got kind of sticky. The, what is that? What is it for the embossing when we do that embossing in the buddy? What is that buddy called?
Oh, the embossing buddy.
The embossing buddy, yeah. Okay, it's the embossing buddy. You can use the embossing buddy anytime. They are not going to be selling them, but you can use the embossing buddy, and if you get some ink on your, some glue on your paper, you can get rid of it through the embossing buddy, which is going. So I'm going to glue that a little bit further down.
I think what that does, and I didn't catch everything you said there, Renee, so I'm focused, but yeah, I think what the embossing buddy does is it puts that powder over top of the glue, so it's no longer sticky.
Right.
It'll still be there, but it won't get in the way.
Right.
Yeah. What I'm doing, I'm using the retired Delicata metallic ink. So if you got that during the last holiday catalog, this is the shimmery silver. And I'm just using a sponge dauber on my finger here to add a little bit of shine to my mirror frame. And this is using the Heirloom frames, 3D embossing folders and dies. Those are being retired as well, and they create these great, this is a rectangle, there's also an oval. Hopefully you can see that detail, this great floral detail frame. So when I saw this fold for this card, I thought, oh my gosh, it would fit perfectly, and thank goodness it did.
Yes, and here it is. Here's that, those are the two, that's the oval. that's the rectangle. I did the rectangle also, but I cut it. There, when you get the embossing folder, these two embossing folders, you do need to get the die because you do need to cut it out. Unless you want to fussy cut it, yeah, but you have to fussy cut out the center. That would be kind of difficult, I think. For me, it was.
Together, so they'll have to get them together.
Right. Oh, they are. Oh, okay. I forgot.
Yeah, that's okay. They are to have both, so it's good that they did that. Otherwise, people could have been stuck.
So you see how that works? All right. So now how do I glue this piece down? So the way I glue this down is I'm going to take this, and the outside edge is that where I'm going to add that glue. All right. And then all I do is I fold this down, just leave it like this, as you can see here. And then I just fold that over, and then that's going to make it stick. Oh yeah, and here's the die. This is what the die looks like, by the way. All right, so there it goes already. All right, mine's very simple. So I am going to go ahead and show you that because it really is a simple one, and hers is a stepped up, so it's going to be a little more intricate. But what I was going to do is I was going to frame that, cut the cake up here like a little window frame. And I have to get it on the correct side, so I'll make sure I did that right. And so that's going to go like that, just like that. And you can position that further down if you like, or further up, just depends on you. I'm going to take that and put it right there. That's where it's going to go. Put that down. I've got my words, so I can easily align it because of the lines of the words. So that's where that one's going to go.
I'm using the silver foil as my mirror, so I'm just going to be putting a tiny bead of glue on the inside of my frame, and then I'll stick that in. You have to be very careful with your multi-purpose liquid glue, or really any liquid adhesive with the foil sheets, because if it gets on there, you will see it forever. It's quite a smudge. The adhesive remover can help a little bit. You can rub it with your finger a little bit. Especially if your finger's a little wet, that can help, but it's not very forgiving. It will show that. So you have to be very careful here.
I actually decided to move this up a little bit so you could see cut the cake.
That's cute.
I actually wanted that higher, sorry.
It's
I want that so that you can see, so you can see cut the cake. And then this is going to go, the frame is simply going to encase that. All right, and there goes the frame.
So cheeky. Like, happy birthday. Now cut the cake.
Yeah, it is cute, isn't it? So we're going to do that. I'm gluing this, the frame. And all I did is I made the frame and then I cut it at the ends. And then, no, that's it. I cut it at the ends and then glued the one end to that piece. So that's all I did. There you go. I love the words because it helps you line everything up.
Do you have
always a fun part.
Frame on dimensions, Renee, or are you just gluing it down?
No, I'm just gluing it down.
Okay.
I'm going to have that cake, which is going to be 3-dimensional, which is going to be enough. So again, so all I did is I used the piece of cake, little pops here, and went all the way around, and then used the cake. My colorings are the Poppy Parade. I love Poppy Parade on this Rococo Rose background DSP. I think it works really well. I think it stands out well. And again, the Sahara Sand, and the frame, of course, was Seaside Spray, which is what the color of the 2019-2021 series DSP is. All right. So now,
oh, sorry, go ahead, show it off. Yeah, that looks lovely.
There we go there.
And mine's all using Calypso Coral because that was the color in my DSP. So what I'm doing now, I did put dimensionals on the back of my frame. It makes sense for Renee's not to because of the way hers is going to fold in. But for mine, it's necessary because this is what's going to allow that 1/2 inch flap to slide under and keep my card standing upright as a table. So I have to line it up. I'm going to show you how I do that real quick. I'm just taking my stickers off. Should have done that sooner. So what I do is I take that 1/2 inch flap. Hopefully you can see. I know the light's not great. But I'm going to slide that 1/2 inch flap back until the fold is at the bottom of the DSP on the inside. So can you see that right here? The DSP is on the inside. I'm sliding my fold back until it lines up. And then I'm going to put my mirror on such that this edge of the card will catch under the mirror against those dimensionals and hold it in place. So I'm going to work on that.
Okay, so now I'm going to put the cake. And for my cake, I used the Seaside Foam and the Rococo Rose. And I used the crumb cake as my stamp set. My theme is mocha and raspberry. So that's how that goes together. And I'm going to place my cake right over the cake. All right, so that it'll be kind of a surprise when you open it up. So I am going to glue the cake down, and luckily it is pretty darn well centered, thank goodness. I did put a backing on the cake. Sometimes I might even stamp that backing. I did not this time. But you can do that. I don't like to see the back messed up, so I go ahead and put a backing on that so it looks just as good as the front does.
I'm with
Hannah
you.
does, yeah.
Yeah, I'll show my cake in a second here. I'm just fussing with my mirror, but I actually, even though it's going to be up against the mirror, I thought that gold foil is a little reflective like a mirror would be. It might show. So that's an extra step for my card that you all who are following along certainly don't have to do. I actually stamped 2 cakes and then glued them. I'll be gluing them together back to back. I don't know that it really is noticeable to anyone but me, so that's just extra.
So you can see how that works. Very simple card. All right, now to put the items on the top. And the cake plate is right here. I hope I did not lose my knife. In my intro, I teach you how to cut the knife. So if you want to learn how to cut the knife, it's fairly simple. And here is my plate. Again, I used the circle dies to do this. And there are 2 kinds of circle dies. You can decide on which ones you want. These were punched out at 1 inch. And again, that 1 inch punch is going away. And this 1 inch punch is golden. I will tell you, how many times have we used this, Hannah? Almost in every video we've ever done.
It's so versatile, yeah.
Yeah, it is really handy. So I will put my cake, as you can see, I will put my cake right here. I will put my knife right there. And I have another 1 inch that I did cut out of the DSP. I'm going to use the tan side, all right, of this. And I'm just going to cut it in half because my cake is going to my groom's cake. Now, again, this could be a graduation card easily with the congratulations, whatever you like, birthday. I'm just going to make it a wedding. You could keep this out or not, depending on what you want. I will talk about that 3D cake in just a second. Well, actually, I can talk about it now because all I'm going to do is cut that in half. So what I did is I have a raspberry mocha cake. And so I made 6 different, I cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 actual pieces of, I punched out of the cake punch. And then I just used the small dimensionals, put them pretty much in the center, and then stuck them all together. And this gives us a little three-dimensionality. It looks like a little raspberry mocha because I have in between the mocha colored or the crumb cake color and the rococo rose, the crumb cake, the rococo rose. So it gives it a little bit of that mocha raspberry kind of flavor. So I will cut this, and then I will glue this to the back right here. All right, you can make 2 of these. You can make how many ever you want. And I'm going to put mine right back here so that it closes well. Took my little crinkled ribbon, which is going to still be in the new catalog. And that's the crinkled ribbon is just so easy. Just took a glue dot and just put that right on top. And there's your little cake.
I love your layer cake. That's so cute, Renee. And cameo, by the way, he was curious to know what you were doing, so he came up to visit.
Oh,
can I share what I'm doing with my cake real quick, just before I get too far ahead?
Yeah, go for
it. Maybe. So I've got, like I said, one cake glued to another, and I even fussy cut out those flowers on the top and glued one to the other. So that way, if you see the reflection in the mirror, you still see cake. And again, this was Calypso Coral for me. I did use the Stampin' Right marker to color in, oh, there it is, I'll get it in frame, to color in the little decorations on the cake. So that's, if you have those, something you can do. Certainly not necessary. And this is going to go on dimensionals for me as well, up against my mirror. Unlike my first version, which had the plate, I am going to do a cake stand this time, so we'll see how that works. I don't think we've mentioned it in this video yet. I know we've mentioned it in our last one, but there is a punch, the Cake Builder punch, that will punch out both the 2-tier cake and the stand at one time, which is great.
So you can see I glued that on the back, pushed down, did the half plate there. I'm just going to glue this plate. Again, that's just the circle dies and the 1-inch punch, the little crumbs from the Happy Birthday to You stamp set that is not available anymore. But again, from our first video, you saw we just talked about how you could just add dots. And then I will put my knife in there and I'm done.
Woohoo! Well, I'm just a little further behind you. I'll do some catching up here, and you're certainly welcome to.
Well, yours is the step up. Yours is the
can take
step up.
Longer. I just had so much trouble fussing with my mirror this time, so that took up a lot of time. I have to say though, Renee, I don't think yours is too simple in a good way. I think it's quite stepped up too. I would say yours is at least casual crafting. And mine might be avid crafting, but yeah, I don't think either of these are at quite the beginner level. They certainly could be modified. So I'm not saying to you all out there watching that, you can't do this if you're just getting started. You absolutely can. But in stamping, we talk about the 3 levels of beginner, casual, and avid, because we don't want to overwhelm people and make them feel like, they can't do it just because it's so involved. There's always ways to make it more accessible.
Yes, and by the way, even the cards that they make like these, they make them a little differently and a little more intricate. And I actually simplified that because they actually put another card, a smaller card on top here. And I just did not see, I did not see it to be necessary. So I simplified the cardstock so that you have less cardstock.
I agree. When I saw that too, I thought that would be cute for another type of card, but for this type of card, I thought it made more sense without that front piece. Because that would be blocking our little table scene here. I'm just having so much trouble with dimensionals today, so I apologize for that. That's what's really slowing me down. But I'm getting
the big thing here is that you want to tuck your ribbon in. You kind of want to make sure that this closes in, and I could put this bow further down to make sure it closes in. I decided I liked the extra ribbon tails. You might not, and you can cut them. They'll be easier to close. Here's the tabletop, if you can see that, the tabletop. There's your knife, your cake plate, your extra cake. That's very, very much it. And then what I would do is, by the way, I have some friends that are having anniversaries, so that's where these are going. And then I would just tuck that in, just like that, fold that down, and there you go, and put it in the envelope. Of course, the back side, on the back side of this card, I did use the Woven Heirlooms stamp set, which is continuing, and put it on the back. This one is blank.
There's really no room on the inside anymore.
Right. And so again, this is a 1/4 or an 1/8 of an inch smaller. That's all it is. So if this is 4 1/4, then this is going to be 4. If this is 5 1/2, then this will be 5 1/4. It's just always a 1/4 or an 1/8, depending on what kind of border you like. I usually like the borders a little bit bigger for some reason. That's just me. And so this is what your cake would look like when they bring it up, and then they will open it up here. And there you go. So it's there to there.
Lovely, Renee. I just am having the hardest time with dimensionals. I think it's because I'm trying to use these little bits that I've got left, and my fingers are super sticky from my glue.
Oh, you
so
got those.
I will just say, because we're about to run out of time. So all I would be doing to finish off this card would be adding my 2 plates. I would be putting my knife, which I can at least lay here to show you, right in the middle. And there'll be pictures of this on my blog. And then I'll just add my tags that say, happy birthday, cut the cake on the front there. And that's that. So let's come back on and show our final projects, because I'm getting a notification from Zoom that we're going to be cut off here in a minute. So real quickly, Thank you so much for watching. Here's the projects, almost finished. And as always, happy crafting.
Happy crafting. Here's the other one. Ah!
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.